Okay, so welcome back to BTide. In this video, we are going to create a HUD customization system, something like what you would have seen in PUBG or games like where they give you an option to customize your controls and change the opacity, change the size of the control, change the location of the controls. And we will also be storing that value and making a save system so that even if you close the game and reopen the game, the location doesn't change. And also currently in this example we will be making a single button, but we have made a system for multiple buttons. So what you can do is you just need to add all the buttons you want and make a selection system that whatever button is pressed, change the values of that button and done. And in this demo, as you can see, we are changing the location and the size and opacity of the button, and even if we close the game and reopen, it saves. And even you have a reset button which changes everything to default. So we will have two variables for that, and have a game instance variable where we hold the value for the game instance, so that if you are making an in-game HUDs, like where you are playing a game, you can get the values from the game instance because it is valid during the whole timeline of a game. So saying that, let's now just get started. Thank you. Okay, so now as we have opened our project, let's just set up a widget first, like it's the basic building block. So let's create a widget and let's name this WBP example widget. And now we need one more widget, which will be the main HUD, that is the main in-game widget. So basically we have two widgets. One is the settings one and second is the in-game widget. Now we are keeping both of them separately. Or you can use the same one also, but it would require extra work, which we are too lazy to do. So let's go. And then we make WBP in-game widget. Let's just create a widget folder and drag these to it. And then we also need a blueprint folder, and because we are storing everything in the game instance, so we need to create a game instance. Where is it? Sorry, blueprint class, all classes, and let's search for game instance, and we have this. So select and name this BP game instance. Now this game instance, oh sorry, so now this game instance would be holding all the values which we have to store, and because we don't want to have 100 variables for everything, so let's just make a data table and a structure which will hold everything we want, and just create a single variable which holds every info like the slot size and things like opacity and etc. So let's create a structure, name this struct button, or maybe widget info. Now let's add a few variables. Firstly would be, can we do it like that, babe? No, we cannot. Okay, let's create the first one to be opacity. Now this should be a float. Then we need to store the size. Now this will be a vector because it will have x and y. So this should be a vector. Then we need location on screen, and this should also be a vector. We can add more, but currently we don't need, so we will just keep these three values. And then let's go to our widget, and let's do one thing, create one more widget and name this WBP basic button. So this will be the button which you will be using. So This is the base class, and we don't want it to be like covering the whole screen. We want it to be the size of a button. So we will just make it the fill size option to be desired. If this option is hidden for you, you can just move around and find it. It should be there on your screen. And then the next thing we need to do is, of course, add a button. And remember, don't add a canvas panel to this basic button, because this is just an button but having its own blueprint. Now this will help us to position the size and everything itself using this basic button thing, and we can even have variables for the button themselves and not having a single blueprint holding every value, just getting you confused. So now this button will have, of course, an image, so you can use some image, whatever icon you want. And but we will use some thing which is already included in the engine folder. This one is the most common, so we will do that. And rounded box, that looks cool, so we will just leave it. And now we need to play with it. Let me just decrease the size to, or maybe let it be. I will just, yeah, let's do one thing. What we can do now is basically create a variable for the data table and check whatever name of it. So let's go to struct widget info again and create one more variable and name this button identifier. So button identifier is the number, basically is the name of that button. You can even use integer if you are sure that you will not get confused, but we will use a name, or maybe string would be a better thing. And now let's go and create a data table. So right click, go to blueprints, go to miscellaneous and then data table. And now select this struct widget info as the row structure and press OK. And we will name this db widget info. Now this will hold all the widget infos as I told already. And yeah, you can see. So this has Z also, but let's get it to widget 2D, vector 2D, sorry. Vector 2D, and this to vector 2D, because we are doing everything on the screen. That is, it's not on the like space, it's not in the world space. So everything just needs an X and Y, not XYZ. And now it's better. So let's name the first row. So let's right click, rename, and name this fire button. And then button name is all again fire button. Remember to keep the row name and the button identifier same. You can get to the struct widget info and just drag this up. Okay, yeah, like this. So you can check both are same. And then opacity, size, and location on the screen will be edited. We will put the default values here, but let's just put for opacity, that is 100. And size, we will just check. Size of the button is 3232. So it's dependent upon the size of the image, as you can see this way. So let's put it 3232. And location on the screen will be edited when we put it back on the widget. So let's save it and open our example widget. Now in our example widget, remember we have opened the example widget, we will add a canvas panel which will cover the whole screen. Now because mostly this type of system will be used in mobile, so we need to have options like increasing, decreasing speed of how up and down you're moving. So let's add a button. Let's add 4 buttons. And what we can do is we can make a vertical box and then a horizontal box. Sorry. Yeah, and that looks better. Let's just select the vertical box and center it to the middle. And now let's add a button. So basically we will need a reference for our struct widget info. So what we can do now is basically get to this basic button and then get to graph and create a new variable. Name this, we can name this item, sorry, button identifier, and then we can set this to a string and then expose on spawn and instance editable. And now when we add a button to our example widget, let's add search for basic button and add this. So basic button is this one and size it to content. You will notice we have an option for button identifier. So we will enter the same value which is entered in the db widget info. So we will copy the button identifier and then we put it here on the this thing. And then what we can do is let's put this to down somewhere on the left, and we want to edit this during runtime. So let's open this again, and then on the widget we can control the size and things like that. So let's go and firstly have an opacity. So this is the render opacity. So we want to make an event pre-construct. So this thing helps you, like whenever you compile, this will run. So called by both the game and the editor. So let's go and get data table, get data table column as a string. Oh, sorry, get data table row, and you would also need to get data table table row names and just p construct. And now here you want to add db widget info and then make a for each loop with break. And then check also if you're sure okay, let's just remove this for now. We will be sure that we will have the same name for our button identifier here and in the widget. We don't need that. So add the button identifier and add it to the row name, and the data table is db widget info. If the row is not found, just print a statement, please enter and check if button identifier name is same for widget and data table. And if widget is found, we will get the data from here. We will break this and you see we get the data like button identifier, opacity, size and location on screen. So we will just get the button, this button, and then set opacity, set render opacity, this, and divide this current opacity by 100 and turn it into the opacity thing. Now basically we are dividing it by 100 because we are putting the value in here in opacity by from 1 to 100. So, and this render opacity takes in values from 0 to 1. So we are clamping it, like converting a 0 to 100 value to 0 to 1 value. So you get the thing, like it's percentage and the normal real value. And then we need to set the size. So basically when we have this render opacity, now for setting the size we need to use it as a canvas panel. So we will search for slot as canvas panel and set position, and position, this will go on location on the screen, and if it is found, yeah, and if it is found, then the size, we will also need to set the size of this slot, yeah, set size, and in size the value will go of this, and save. So let's go and compile our blueprint, and now this button should work. Basically we'll get the values from whatever value you would have put in the game. So let's just go and do one thing, and let's save, and now let's go and create a new label blueprint, and we will just add this editing widget on our screen. So event begin play, because this will be in the menu and we are not working on a menu tutorial but on how to create edit like button sizes and things from the widget. And we will now create a widget and name this example widget and add it to viewport, and now play. So we have the button here, although it doesn't change its location and things like that. So let's do one thing. Okay, access none trying to slot as convert. Okay, so the button was not valid at this point. So let's remove pre-construct. What we can do is we will call this on event construct, and let's check. No, it is still. And now to set the position, we need to add one more thing, and go here and right click this and name this wrap with canvas panel. And for this button you will now have options for size, so you can just either set the size to content here like this, and this will depend now on the image size, or else what we suggest is go with this. So it's 32 and you have 32, and you can change the, basically you can make it maybe 60 and 60, and the image size can be a little smaller, maybe 2020, and you can just play with that. Make this, yeah, okay, this works. Yes, you can edit the things depending upon how you wish it to look, and then you can just get this slot as canvas panel, set the position, and then set size. Let's check if it works. So I think it does. Let me just check. Let's make a print statement here and check if it is printing the right value. Opacity here and this. So as you can see, sorry, it played on the next screen. You see we get 100, so it is getting the value. And how is it looking here? So nice, it works. So basically, as you can see, this is very small here, but if we play, legs become very big. And for just showing you, like, we can make it 3000 by 100, and let's, oops, what I did. Yeah, 3000 by 100. And yeah, you can see it becomes 3900. So this system works. Now the next thing which we need to do is basically check if for the position. So if, let me just show you one thing. If I remove this for now, and in the X thing I pass in 300 maybe, or 400, and just play. Oh sorry, let me just make the size to back to normal, and 100. And now if I just do one thing, let me make an event tick so that I can show you something, and then get this thing set size, set position, and I just add get current, get position, yeah, get position. And if I just add, can I add, yeah, maybe 10 or 30, 30, and play. So you see it was very quick, but it did work. So basically, if I make it 1 1, so you see it works. So this means that we can control the position of the button on the screen. And now for setting it on the screen, we need to get the reference value, whatever the reference value of it is, and then cut in the real value that is where it is present on the widget. So let's go and work on that. So if we press, uh, yeah, if we press up, let's make an on clicked event. If we press up, we need to get this widget reference, and this is basic widget, and we need to make it go up. So for that, we will create a new widget in the example in the basic button, and create a custom event and name this move widget, and pass into this set position. So we need to add 1 or 2 depending upon whatever speed you have of movement. So we will just get this, and get whatever value we want to add. So let's name this value to be value to move. So, and now get back to your example widget, and call this move widget. And if it is moving, if we are pressing up, then it should move up, that is in the Y widget positive. So let's add 1, or if you want more speed, you can add 4. Let's put 2 for now. And if you want to move it right, make an on clicked event like this. And for down, and for left. Now when we have all the buttons, what we can do is, so basically this was for up, and now for the right one, we want to move it in the y direction, sorry, x direction in the positive axis. So we will just make x to 2 and y to 0. And for the down button, we want to move it down, that is the y axis in the negative. So we will make negative y, and the only thing left is this one, which makes it go on the left. So for left, we want to have -2 on this and 0 for this. And this should work perfectly. Let's go and check. And if I press left, okay, it didn't move. That's something that should not happen. Ha 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 ha. Let me just check. Get position, we add the position, we sent it here. Let me add a bigger number, maybe 30. Yeah, so we are moving in the wrong direction, but this works. So this should have moved in the x, positive x, no, sorry, positive y. And this is, so basically let's inverse it. So let's negative and have positive negative 30 here, positive 30 here, and positive 30 here. So let's check if it works, and I hope it does. And down, so it goes down. On left it doesn't move much, on right it doesn't move, but on up it does go up. So we can now configure the values and have more fun with it, but it's not moving in the y direction, sorry, x direction. So let's check why that happens. And we are adding, okay, so I found a way. So basically let's go back to graph and get this canvas panel. So let's make the canvas panel a variable, and then in the canvas panel, let's get the canvas panel and make set, what is it called, set set transformation, set render translation. And we will just pass the same info here, widget. Oh, okay, so we don't need to pass that, and this. And now because we are using the canvas panel, so we will just get the current position of this, get get render. Okay, so we can get the transform from here, then split, and then we get the translation from here. We don't need this now. And let's check if this works. So yeah, so we can now move up, down, and wherever you want to keep the widget. Now, but if we exit and then open again, this does not have the position, like this does not hold the info. It, like if you have this on the right and then reopen, it will come back to its original position. So we need to store this value. So basically this data table stores everything. So we will just store, we will edit the data table. So in this basic button thing, let's create a new variable and name this button info, and this would be of type struct widget info, and just compile and save. And basically we cannot save the data table directly, so what we can do is without a plugin, of course. So what we can do is, in this button info, we can enter things like this button identifier and opacity. So opacity we get from here, that was 100, of course. And then in the size we get 100, and we will set the position. So let's remove this get data table thing, we will use our own button info. And now for this button info, make it instance editable and expose on spawn, and remove this button identifier. And now this, you just split this and get the opacity from here, button info size from here, size goes, so sorry, location this and this, and just get things like this. And now when we have changed a position, we need to get and update this variable itself. So this variable is the godfather of this widget, just understand that. And remove this hello because we don't need to print now. So whenever we move the object, what we can do is we will get this button info, or let's create a function and name this update variable. And for this button info, we will split this. The button remains same, if the button identifier remains the same, so we will just break this and get the current button identifier. For opacity, we will get the render opacity because we are changing it from the widget directly, so we will just get a button directly, so we will get the button, sorry, get the button and search for render opacity, get render opacity, and pass in by multiplying it by 100. For the button info size, we will get the canvas panel, oh sorry, for the location, and then get get render transform angle, no, get render, get transform, split this and get the translation and pass it in the info location on screen. And for the info size, we will get this size from the button itself, and get the size, get size, and pass it as the button size, so that we don't need to enter value whenever we update, we automatically take it from the widget. And now on move widget, just update the variable. Now when we update the variable, we need to like keep it updated in the game instance also. So let's create a new variable here. Now here the thing of the button identifier comes into play. So let's create a widget and name this all button info, and name this type to struct widget info, and the item type would be variable. Compile and save. And for yeah, let's do that. Okay, so now what we need to do is go to your basic button, and on update variable, get game instance cast to cast to bp game instance, get all button info, and then get make a for each loop with break, make a sequence, make firstly get this break, check if the button identifier is equal in case sensitive to this thing, this button identifier, and if it is equal, then make a branch. And now we don't need to check because we have found the array, so we will make a sequence and pass into break. So break basically would not continue the search, we will just end here, and double clicking makes reroute nodes, so you can do that. And if this is successful, we will just set this element and by this array index. So what we can do is Let's create a local variable, name this array found, and this would be of boolean type. So if we find the array, we will just make it to true, and yeah. So let's get the variable to set array element, and array index would be this, and item would be this button info because it's already updated. And size to fit, yeah, we don't need this. And on completed, maybe this button has not been added to that variable already. So if this is not found, so if it is false, that means it has not been found. We will just add an array, add an array element. So we will just add if this is false, and the value would be this. So here is the blueprint. You can just have a quick look. If you want, you can pause the video. Nice. So let's move forward. And so this keeps the example widget, oh sorry, the value in the game instance updated. Now whenever we update the game instance, we need to have when basically store it. So make a new function and name this get stored button info, and create one more store new button info. In the store new button info, we will check does save game exist, and will this name as button info. Create a branch. If this is true, then just get the stored value. So basically what we are going to do is we need to store the new variable. Oh, okay, let's do one thing, remove this. If this is true, then just delete this, or delete same, because we already would have got the new stored value. So delete game in is slot, and after this on false we will just create save game object, and we have this save game and cast. Okay, so we will need to create a save game object. So right click on this blueprint folder and search for save game, and name this bp save game, and here use this and cast to, oh, or it does it, yeah, it returns that value directly. So let's open this, and we will put all the variables which we need to store here. So we will just need one variable, that is item, oh, sorry, button info, and this should be oh sorry, this should be struct widget info, and then make it a variable. Get back to your get back to your game instance and get button, sorry, set button info, and on setting you will just get the all button info. And save game to slot, and in object name we will just pass this button info again, and if when we have deleted this we will again do the same thing, and we will just return. Now we also need to do get the stored values. So we will just get we will get does game exist. So we will just copy this part, and if this is true, if the game save game exists, like the game exists, so we will just get the save game, go load game from slot. We will pass the slot name, sorry, not this, it's button info, and then we will cast to bp save game, get button info, and just call this. And if does not exist, so basically if the widget does not exist, also what we need to do is we may return the value also, like this. And if does not exist, then we will just call store new button info and pass it back. Oh no, let's create a new return node here and make array and just an empty array. So this should work. I think nothing left. So this will store the new value. And okay, looks nice. And in the example widget, what we will now do is, sorry, on this basic button, we will create an event construct. On the event construct node, we get the info from this variable directly, and this variable has been initialized depending upon this struct info, so which may be outdated. So now we need to take the button info from the game instance itself. So let's call the game instance and then cast to bp game instance, right click, convert to pure cast, and from here now we will get the button, get stored button info. This will return the button info which has been stored, and we will check if it is the first element, get the first element, get we will just split this and check if the first element is valid or not. So what we can do is we will just check if it is empty and make a branch. So if it is empty, then we will just use this thing that we have now, and if it is not empty, we will use this use the value from here. So if it is not empty, that means this widget holds some info, and we will get the for each loop. Oh, sorry, we needed to do something else. Okay. Let's remove this part and make a for each loop with break. And create a new variable, name this item info found, and this should be a boolean. Now make a branch, break, and check if it is equal case insensitive to this. Make a branch, and if this is equal, that means we found an array element that stores the value, stores this value. So if this is true, then we will just set item found to true, and if the item found is true, we will just use the new value. And if on completed, we make a branch, item is not found. So if it is false, we will just set it using the variable which we had on the widget itself. We will use this variable. And one last thing which we need to do is, if we found, then we need to use this value. So we will just bring this down and copy this thing, paste here, and pass in the opacity here, passed in the size here, and pass the position here. And this should work. Let's check. I'm very excited, and this should work. Please, 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 please. If we make it left, okay, it's going on the right. That could get fixed. And if we stop, this button widget is not valid. Oh, okay. So for that, we need to go in the project settings, maps and modes, and select our BP game instance here. And we also need to store the value. Okay, we are already doing that, I think. Let's go to our basic button and update variable. Are we calling? No. So whenever it is completed, we also need to call one thing. We also need to like convert to purecast, and from here call maybe what was it? Set. No, it was, let's open the game instance. It was store new button info. So let's call store new button info on this and this. Let's run and let's make it go on the left. This would have stored the value. If I stop and then replay, it doesn't work. This should have stored the value. I don't know why it didn't. Yeah, it does. It does work. It does work. And now if I make it go down, not that what you're thinking, but if it goes here and I stop, play again, it is there. So, oh, let me just play again. Yeah. And if I bring it up, so something is not right, I think. If I store it at this point and play, something is off. Let us go and open the project folder. Saved. Save game and button. So it does store the button. Maybe we can just open it with, yeah. So a very nice language, you can struct property, you can read everything, like, wow, what nice thing. And opacity is stored, so let it be. I don't want to read that. And just something is off. So before that, let's just fix this. Let's make this 30 and make this minus 30. So the well, left and right are now fixed. So if I go right, stop, play again, I think it is not able to save the value very quickly here, and it is still here, down one. So yeah, it is not able to save the value very quickly. So we need to do something for that. But it should store that because it's very quick, to be honest. And let's make a print statement and check if it is storing the new value. So we go up, 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 so it does store every value, as you can see. Okay, so I found the issue. Now the issue is something with this variable. this button info thing is not getting stored correctly. So what we do is basically after storing the button info, we just get button info and break it upon it and just have a delay of mere 0.2 seconds maybe. Oops, where is it? And let's go to our project folder and delete the game, save game. And okay, so for that what we can do is basically let's go to our example widget and create a new button and make it from top to maybe 30, and the text would be reset. And if we press reset, that should go back to its original position. Now because we already know the original position, so what we can do is basically get the game instance. Okay, so what we can do is we just right click and press Ctrl D on this and rename this to delete stored info. And if it is true, we will just delete this. We don't need to update, we just need to delete like this. Or what we can do is basically make this variable right empty, make array and an empty element. So if it is deleted, and then what we can do is get back to our example widget and get the game instance and cast to it. So we can just copy it from somewhere, from here maybe. Okay, so let's get the normal game instance, this. And from here, we just delete stored info. And now we will get child then we will get all the widgets of the class, and then we will get the basic widget for each element, not the top one level only, and we just reset the position. So for resetting, we will just create a custom event, reset, and pass it here. And now we can just call reset from here. And done, everything is now reset. Let's go and check. So we have here, and now it's positioned here. I press reset, nothing happens. But now it's back on its position. If I go on left, it's stored. It's at the new position again. If I press reset, play, it's on the back. So this system now works. But this is not happening on runtime. That is, it's not deleting that thing. Okay, so what we can do is let's check if it goes on print false. Okay, so it goes on print false. Now if we go up and press a reset, it does go. but it's not getting the correct position. Oh, so basically the value is not stored. So let's do one thing. Mm, so this button info is exposed on spawn and we are editing this. So do we need to change the value of this? No, we don't. So we just make it like this. So we will not change the value of the original button. We will let it be the default value. And now if we go up, it goes up. We play again. It comes back. Nice. What a bad experience. Yeah, it's now, if I press reset now, okay, so it's using this new button. So let's create a new variable, name this local button info and make it struct widget info. Struct widget info and then set this struct widget info to this and right click split and pass all the values which you were using here. Let's check now. Let's go back and check. We go up, it goes up, switch off, it comes back. Nice. Oh, okay. So we have to replace this by this local button info also. I forgot. Yeah, now it should work. And has an invalid type. Just let's refresh all. Yeah, now it works. Let's go up, close, and it's up. And I press reset, come back, and it's on back. So things like this work, but it's still not resetting correctly. So on reset, what we can do is we can directly just pass here, and this will directly set and override everything. And if I go up and reset, it still doesn't change the position correctly. Something is not going right. This button info does hold things like it. Hmm. Let's right click this button info and check the references and check if it is. Are we even calling the reset button correctly? Let's make it top widget only and so I will figure out the problem for that. Now let's work on the opacity thing. So you already would have thought that opacity should be a very single thing, like very small thing. So yes, it is, bros. So let's go. And we make a slider. And the values from here is 0 to 100. And on the value changed, on value changed, we will just get the base widget, base button, and we change the size. So let's go to basic button and create a custom event. Name this set button size, and we call this set render opacity. Oh, are we doing for button size? Okay, so firstly let's finish opacity then. And for this X, we just go there and name this value. And we again update the variable after we have set the render opacity. And for here, we will just go back to example widget and we call update, no, set opacity. And value goes here. And the initial value should be 100. And let's decrease this. So this works. As you can see, we can change the opacity for it. Now, if you want that, you don't want it to be completely disappeared, you just want it to be maybe there, like you cannot decrease it lower than that. So what you can do is get to your example widget and set the minimum value to maybe 30. So this will distribute it. And now if I try to lower it down, it will not go below 30. And as usual, it is getting saved, so the opacity is 30. Now the slider gets back to 100. So for that, you can use the variable which you store in the game instance and then just change depending upon the value of the opacity. And the last thing is size, of course. So let's go and just set that to Control D. And on value, sorry, on mouse capture, no, on value changed, we will go back to basic button and custom set size, and we will have an float input. And because everything is in the proportion to 1 to 1, so we will just have to like get everything in proportion. So we will just get the size, split, and get plus. So whatever we increase on the X, what that too we need to increase on the Y. So let's press 1. Oh, also what we can do is we can just put this here. And we also need to get the size of this. Okay, so yeah, no, we need different because maybe you want a button where the proportion is 2:1. So we will just get this differently. And if you have square buttons, then there's no issue. Everything is right. And then go back to your example widget and on value changed, just call size, set size, and pass in the value. Let's check. We get opacity like this. We can get the size. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so for that size, basically if you decrease, you will have to like go and decrease that. So what you can do is basically directly set the size. Yes, directly set it. Now for that example widget, let's get back, and in the size, maybe you want from 60 to 200 is the limit. So 60, and if we just go and make it big, small, make it small, change the opacity up, left, and just close. and whenever we open, it is on its back, its position is working, and we can just set this to 0, sorry, to less opacity, and it does work. So I hope this video helps you. For that position thing, why is it getting back to its original position? Sometimes it looks like a bit little bug that the values are not getting updated correctly. For that, I will check that and put it in the pinned comment down below. And hope to see you in the next videos of this series. More videos will be coming this month. Yes, this month, until before ending of November, we will post 2-3 more videos on mobile series. So yeah, that is it. Please consider hitting the subscribe button if this video helped, and thank you.